Hey guys, welcome to the 15th episode of my paint and pigment making series where I'll be making oil paint and maybe an ink out of black walnut hulls. Black walnuts are typically found in North America, and since I'm multiple ponds away from there, I had to settle for buying the pre-ground walnut hulls as a supplement. It would have been really cool to make the whole thing from scratch, but it just wouldn't be that practical. This is the first time I bring it up, and it probably won't be the last time, but since I live somewhere with a currency float and stupidly high inflation, I can pretty much only sacrifice 4 of these pills. They pack them well though, and it'll be more than enough. Now, I found lots of very conflicting information online about black walnut hull solubility. Basically, black walnut hulls are an old school fungicide, antiviral, antiparasitic, and antibacterial. It basically kills everything undesirable. The active ingredient in them is called juglone. Juglone is also what gives the hulls this dark brown-black color. Some websites are claiming that the juglone is insoluble whilst others say that it is. To be honest, this powder doesn't really look like it would be very soluble in water. It's technically powdered wood. At best, this would be slightly soluble. There are, however, many people who've had great success making ink out of it through cooking and fermentation. So the first step in turning this powder into something usable is to make sure that the particles aren't too big. Lord knows how many trials I ruined by not getting my particles small enough. Right now, it doesn't really look that fine, so I'm going to try to improve it. I place the powder into a stone mortar and use a pestle to grind it up. One of you recommended that I use a ceramic mortar and pestle, and honestly, that's a fantastic idea. I'd definitely like to try that out in my upcoming pigment episodes. Now that the walnut is sufficiently ground up, I'm going to try a new method for reducing particle size, and that is called levigating. It's a process where you suspend an insoluble powder in liquid. The heavier particles will settle, while the lighter ones will float closer to the top. I guess it would be more accurate to say that this method removes larger particles rather than reduce them. I place the powder into a jar of water and slightly agitate it. I then pour the suspended pigment onto a sacrificial ceramic plate. I'm really concerned that the coffee filters that I've been using are not catching the very fine particles and instead letting them fall through. I shouldn't lose any fine particles by leaving it to evaporate on the dish. I am worried though that it will ruin the dish, but you have to break a few eggs to make an omelette. Days turned into a week or two and everything has completely dried. Let's start with what's on the plate. I start to scrape off the dried black walnut hull powder, and my fears for the plate were pretty much confirmed. The stuff on the sides is very much stuck on. Rest in peace, plate. The pigment coming off though looks very fine. I am, however, disappointed that I have such a small yield. A lot was lost to the plate. I place the powder back into the mortar and pestle and grind it up again. It seems very fine and smooth, but yet again a lot of powder was lost in the process. I think I will definitely need to find a happy balance between reducing particle size and having good yields. I place the final powder onto my glass slab and add some walnut oil to it to make oil paint. I'm sorry, but I still can't find my dropper. You know that one task that's so simple, but you keep putting it off forever and it makes no sense and makes your life harder? Yeah, well, that's my dropper situation. I try to go in slow and easy, but at some point I add way too much oil. I don't have more walnut powder to thicken it up, and repeating the whole process with more would mean this video would be 2 weeks late. So I'm just trying to say, let's just pretend that I added way less oil and that this paint is the perfect consistency. Consistency and personal failure aside, I really like the color. It's pretty much a pure black. It really doesn't look that brown to me. The texture is nice. I mean, the thing is smooth. Just pretend it's not so runny. When I test it out on a piece of primed, unstretched canvas, I'm less happy with the results. There's a really weird texture to this paint. It doesn't offer smooth coverage. It's kind of blotchy and stipply. I don't think this has to do with the excess oil, although that does play a role, but more the particle size. I swear, particle size is giving me high blood pressure. I'd buy those 120 micron meshes right now, but I mixed the pigment with white, and I'm surprised to end up with a cold gray. There were no brown or red tints in this oil paint at all. I did not think it would have such a cool tone. Anyways, I know it's not the most exciting color, but it's practical and stable. I don't think we need to see more of the oil paint side, to be honest, so let's just get straight into the ink part. So I'm going to do this test on a piece of thick watercolor paper. The ink that I'm using is what was left in the jar after levigating. I'm not really sure how this is going to work out, but the black walnut has been sitting in the water for over 2 weeks, so it really should have dyed it by now if it were soluble in any way. So the weird thing here is that the ink looks brown on paper. This might be a concentration thing since Indian ink is also brown like that when it's really watered down. I'm not really sure though how to get a more intense color with what I have right now. If I brush from the bottom of the jar, it comes out very gritty and not nice. The levigation did a really good job at keeping too big particles at the bottom of the jar. Overall, kind of underwhelmed by the ink result. I didn't really Google or read up on how to do this beforehand, so I definitely missed some steps. I should have tried cooking or fermenting it, but I didn't think that would be worth it to have this video come out much later. But if you really want to see that, just let me know and I can make it work. Anyways, I realized this video was a bit more light than some of my other pigment videos, but I'm editing this on a plane right now on my way to Morocco for the next 2 weeks. I'm going to try to find dragon blood here, since the tree that it's made from is native to the area. And I think it would be insanely awesome if I did find it. Dragon blood is pretty much the only non-cancer in-dye alternative to vermilion, which is made of cinnabar. So I think it could be a very special one. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed making it. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, please leave them in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching.